Hello guys and welcome for today's video. And in today's video we'll be building this simple form validation application. So our requirement is simple. We just need to display this simple form with some simple styling as shown here. So this is a form validation application. So we need to validate the form. What I mean is, if I click this submit button, it is validating the form and it is displaying something. See, it is displaying first name is required, last name is required, and email is required. So it is doing some work and it is validating the form. If I hit cancel, it is going. And if I just type something like Sid, and if I give my last name as B, and if I give my email as breakthrough@gmail.com, if I hit submit, dynamically a table is getting created and it's getting displayed. See, whatever value I entered in the form, it is getting displayed as in the values in the table. This is our simple. This is a very simple project. This project is as in Avasoft company. So we will be solving this straightforward project today. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into VS Code. So I have a simple. I created a folder here and I have three files. Three file index.html, the HTML file, the JS file, index.js, and the styles file. So I already have all of the styling and all of the HTML. So let's just take a look at it. So I already have the HTML code and the CSS code pre-written because I have it pre-written because it's just simple code. So let's just see it. We inside the body tag in the base HTML we have a link to our CSS. And we have a title of form validation. So inside the body tag, it is very simple. We have a form tag, and inside the form tag, we are having a h1 tag called demo. It is for nothing. So let's just take it out, and we are a first label. So as you see here, you have to display 3 labels and 3 input tags, and you have to display an input tag with a checkbox on it, and 2 other input tags for this radio, and a text area tag for this comment, and a drop down, and you have to display 2 buttons. So as I told, we are having 3 labels and 3 inputs over here, and we are having a label and input for our checkbox, and label and 2 inputs for our radio, and a label and a text area for the comment section, and we are having a drop down as seen here. This is the code for the drop down, and we are having 2 buttons. And the main thing is, on click of the cancel button, we are calling clear form, a function. So this is the base HTML. Let's take a look at the CSS. In the CSS, we have put the background color as gray, and in the form tag is it's a tag. The form tag for this form tag, inside this form tag, we have all of our code. And in the style for the form tag is, we have given as background color as white, and we are giving some padding and some margin, and we are giving the border as black. See, the border is black, and we are giving some border style as outset and some border radius as 45 pixels. So it looked curved. So you see the whole form is displayed inside a box. So similarly, the border radius is 45 pixels. So that's why it is a little bit curvy over here. Okay, and the font family, we have Arial and some other fonts. So for the main table, okay, as we saw here, if we enter all of the things correctly over here, so I just click all of the options. If it submit, a table is getting created. For the table, we are having border collapse as collapse, and our width is 40. The total width is 50%. So the total width of the table will be 50%. So you see here, the width, this whole width is 100%, and it is occupying 50% of our screen. And you see here, margin top will be 20 pixel. So the space between the form and this table will be 20 pixel. And here inside the table we will have table head and table body. So for that we are giving border as 4 pixel and we are giving it as solid black. So that's why it is displaying as everything in black color. And here if we go down, we have special styles for the table head and table body. So we are giving padding as 8 pixel, text align will be center, the background color will be blue. So that's why the table is displaying in blue color. So if you see here the font family, they are giving some, you can give any font you want, but I gave the fonts I like. Okay. And for the input tag, you have margin, border radius. Why we have border radius is the input tags little curved. So we have margin and border radius. And I like to add one style is which is border. I'll put it as none. So in that way, this border will go. And in this, okay. So that's it for the styling, guys. So let's just try to run our code, which is copy the path and paste it in a new tab. If we control V over here, if we paste it in a new tab, see, we got the same thing, and I think we have, the only thing we did is we gave the border as none. So in that case, it's not displaying over here. So if I over here it's not displaying is the background color is white. So both the input tag and the background color of this form is white. So that's why it's not displaying. So we have to have that border. Okay. So now we have to write our JavaScript. Both the submit button and the cancel button is not working. So now let's try to code this. Before we code this, guys, I want you to take a minute and I want you to think I want you to think of the logic for this application. Okay, what I mean by the logic is, see, for any problem solving or for any application, the logic is simple. The logic is step by step way of solving the problem. Okay, so now let's take a look into the logic. So the logic is simple. When we on click of the submit button, we have to validate the form. Okay, you have to check if all of these 3 input tags contains any value. If it contains any value, na, it's fine. But if it does not contain any value, na, we have to display three span tags. I hope this is span tag, and you have to display 3 span tags on click of the submit button. Okay, and on click of this form validation. And if everything is correct, on click of the submit button, we have to create a dynamic table. This is the requirement and this is the logic. Okay. So what I'm going to do is basically, first I'm going to go into the JavaScript file, which is completely empty. So what the first thing is, on click of the submit button, I have to validate the form. So first I'm going to get the submit button. Okay. First I'm going to get the form, the whole form. So I'm going to have a variable const form will be equal to, I'm going to get the element. So I'm going to use our great old DOM, which is document dot get element by id. I'm going to get the element by id, and as usual I'm going to go into HTML. What is the whole element? This is the id for the form, user form. And by the way, guys, I recommend copy pasting the IDs, because somewhere you might miss some spelling or you might give some space, and lot of things can happen and it will crash your whole code, and debugging will take hours. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm gonna just go to this form. So with this form I'm going to add an event listener. Okay, so I'm going to add an event listener. What this event listener does is it basically listens to an event. If you go to this HTML file and take a look at this thing, it is the input tag, it is typed submit. Okay, so I'm going to listen to the submit event. So the event is going to be submit. Okay, and then I'm going to have an arrow function. See, so let's take a look deeply. Let's take a look what this add event listener does. So it basically, what it does is it is present in the name. We are basically adding an event listener. Okay, in our application there are many events. Okay, some you take the best examples are click, submit, mouse over, mouse leave. There are many events. Okay, so I'll go to my web page. When I click this submit button, it is submitting. Okay, it is submitting some form or something. So it is a submit event. When I click this cancel button, it is a click event. Okay. So we are basically listening to an event. If this event occurs, okay, then we are calling this function. Okay, wow. The code how it will work is, this is the form. This is the complete form, right? If a submit event occurs in this form, then this function will get called. This is the add event listener. Okay, wow. So here what I'm going to do is, what you have to do, on click of the submit button, we have to validate the form. Correct? So I'm calling a function. So it will be validate form. Validate form. So now we have to write that function. Okay. Validate form. 1 second. I have to write it inside a function. Function validate form, and then we don't have to take anything. So what we have to do, we have to check if an input tag is empty, then we have to display a span tag. Okay, we have to check if an input tag is empty. We have to check if all 3 input tags are empty or these 2 input tags are empty. See here, if we go up and hit cancel, if I just fill some value here and hit submit, only these 2 span tags are getting displayed. Okay, so you have to check for all of the 3 input tag. Okay, wow. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm basically gonna have an array. Okay, so let inputs. Okay, inputs. What I'm gonna do is, see here, I have to check if this input tag's value is empty, and I have to check for all the 3 input tags. Correct? So what are the, let's see what are the ID names for all the three input tags. It is first name, last name, and email. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go into my JS. I'm going to have an array. For each element in the array, I'm going to have all of the three ID. I'm going to have all 3 IDs of these input tags in that array. So first is going to be first name, which is first name, and the next is going to be last name. So which is, I'll just copy this, paste this. 1 second. Oh, okay, it is getting copied again. So I'm going to go here, and this, make it a practice, guys. Just copy paste the IDs. You might make a mistake somewhere. Okay, I've experienced the ID mistakes a lot, so that's why I'm preferring copy pasting. And it's gonna paste it here. That's it. We got an array of IDs. Correct? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna for each over this array. Okay, wow. So this for each will basically call a function for every single element in this array, and that function is gonna be, okay, and the function is gonna be an arrow function. So for this function, I'm going to take so the input will be, so for this function inside the for each, we can have 3 inputs. One is the current value of the array. Next is the index of the element in the array. Next is the whole array itself. So I'm going to just take the current value, input. I suddenly press caps lock. So input, I'm going to have input. So here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to check if the input if there is no input dot value. If there is no value now, then I'm going to call a function create span. So I have to dynamically create a span tag. So I'm going to just call a function create span. That's it. Okay. That's it. If there is no value, in the input tag, I'm just calling a function create span. So for that, what I have to pass? So for that function, okay. So real quick, let's. What is this error, pa? Okay. So real quick, let's just implement that function, which is gonna be function create span. So what I'm gonna do is basically just gonna what will be the input to this function? See, first time it is printing first name is required, and second time it's printing last name is required, and third time it's printing email is required. Okay. So basically we need to have the message. Okay, whatever we want to put inside the span tag, we have to take it as an input. I'm gonna have message, and I'm gonna pass it over here. The message is gonna be, I'm gonna put it inside a weird string braces. That's what I call it. So you have to use that braces if you want to use variable inside a string. So what I'm gonna use, the field value. I'm gonna use the input dot value, and I'm gonna just put is required. Real quick, I'm gonna copy paste this too. Yes, and so we got the message. The next thing is okay, we got the message. So now I'm just gonna create a span tag dynamically. So const, one second, const span will be, we have to create an element. So document, we have to create an element in the DOM. So document dot create element. So what element we have to create? We have to create an element span. So span tag, I'm just going to create a span tag, and that span tag dot text content will be message, and the span tag dot class name will be error. Okay, wow. I'll just tell why we are giving a class name for this span tag. Let's just see it. The next thing is, when you create an element in the DOM, we have to specify where we have to put it. Okay. So real quick is, we'll just take a look at this HTML file. So when you dynamically create an HTML in the DOM, HTML tag element in the DOM, you have to specify where in this HTML file you have to put that a particular element. Okay, wow. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to explain something real quick. So see here, this label tag and all of these input tags are inside of this form tag. Correct? So for this label tag and input tag, this form tag is considered as a parent node. Okay, wow. For this form tag, all of these things are child node. Okay, wow. The whole thing parent node is this body tag. This body tag's parent node is the HTML tag. Correct? Correct? So we basically have to, this is how HTML content works. Okay, wow. So now we have to put this span tag. Let's just see here real quick. You have to put this span tag next to this input tag and before this label tag. So we have to put this span tag right in line number 14, line number 17, and line number 21. How to do that? Okay. You see here, for this label tag, this input tag is a sibling. Correct? And for this input tag, this label tag is a sibling. Okay, wow. So what I'm going to do is, we have to put span tags in 3 single elements. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to pass the second argument for this create span function will be the input tag itself. Okay, wow. I'm just gonna get it as input over here. Okay, wow. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this input dot parent node, parent node dot. So the input tag's parent node will be this form tag. This form tag is the parent node of this input tag. So I'm basically gonna get this parent node. I'm going to use a method in insert before. For this method, we basically have to. So I'll real quick explain what happens here. So I'm targeting the input tag's parent node and I'm calling a method insert before. Okay, what this insert before method? For this insert before, there are two arguments. First is the tag you have to insert, which is a span tag. And the next, what element we have to insert before? So input dot next sibling. Correct? So what this line does is, I'll explain it real quick. We are getting the input dot parent node. We are getting the parent node of this input element, and we are calling a method insert before. So what this does is, it inserts the span tag before the next sibling of the input tag. So basically, if this is the input tag from our parameters, then what we are doing is, we are basically inserting the span tag before the label tag. The label tag is the next sibling of the input tag. This is what we are basically doing. Okay. Now real quick, let's check if it works. So we missed a very important part over here. Before checking if the code works, I just saw this part. So we have to get the input value, right? So we're just getting the ID and checking its value. So this will cause an error. So stupid me. So I'm just going to get the input tag. So const input is equal to document dot get element by ID, which is going to be ID. Okay, just getting the ID over here. Okay, so now let's really quick check if it works. So let's just check if it works. So I'm just gonna reload the page and I'm gonna hit submit. The form validation worked. It is printing first name is required, last name is required, email is required. Okay. So this is the first part of our logic is done. So until now, if anybody don't understand, then I recommend rewinding the video and starting from the part which you don't understand. Okay. This is the code that we have done. So the next part is, if everything is correct, then we have to create a table. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to cut this. I'm going to check if form validation. If this returns true now, then I'm going to call create table. Okay, So now I have to make this return true, correct? I'm going to have a variable let is valid. I just assign this variable to first true. Okay. If any value is false now, then is valid will be false. At the last, I'm just gonna return is valid. Simple. Now we just have to write the create table function. So I'm gonna have a function create element of create table. Okay, so nothing is needed as a parameter. So what I'm going to do is, first you have to create a table, correct? So const table will be document dot create element. It's going to be table, correct? Now, now the next thing you have to do is you have to get all of these values to put inside the table, correct? So I'm going to get that values real quick. So I'm going to have a object data. I'm going to have an object let data. So you see here, so 1 second. So if you take a look at the output, if we enter all of the values, something, and if we hit submit, the table is getting created. So this is the table we have to design and display over here. So if you see, all of this data are in key value pair. Okay. So you see here the first name, for first name we have a value, field value. Okay. For last name you have a value. Okay. For everything you have a value. It's like a key value pair. So what if we store this whole thing inside a property? Okay, a property contains a name and a value, correct? So we can put this whole thing, whole data inside an object. That's what I'm going to do. I create an empty object data. So I'm just going to the first properties will be field up. So field and the value will be value. Correct. We see here the first property is field and the second property is value. So I'm going to just enter this real quick and come. So I just entered all of these values. So the first thing is going to be field and the value. The second thing is going to be the first name. And for the first name, I just took the element by ID first name. So I just took this input tag and got the value from it, which is dot. If I put value, we just taking the value. So I did for all of the 3 input tags, and for checkbox, I'm just going to get the element by ID for checkbox. If it is checked now, then I'm using a ternary operator. Then the value will be checked. If it is unchecked now, it will be unchecked. Okay, wow. If it is unchecked now, it will be unchecked, or if it is checked now, it will be checked. For the comment, what we are doing? We are just getting the element by ID and getting the value. And for the drop down, we are just getting the element by ID and getting the value. This is how we got the data. So now we got the data. We just have to display it in a table format like this. Correct? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look through this object. So object dot entries of data. This is how you look for each and an object dot for each, and for each and every single thing I'm gonna have an array, and first thing I'm gonna get the field. Okay, wow. Field. Second thing I'm gonna get the value. The third thing I'm gonna get the index. Okay, wow. So I just have to use, and yes, this is a basic for each. Okay, I'll just explain how a table works really quick. So if we go to our Chrome, you see here in this table everything is a row. Okay, a table is a collection of rows. This whole thing is a row. The second thing is row. So the field and value are both in a row. The first name and SS are both in a row. Okay, so it is declared row wise. Okay, and like similar to array, this table also has indexing. Okay, so this field and value, this row is in 0 index, this row is in first index, this row is in second index, and this row is in third index. Similarly, it has indexing. Okay, wow. So inside a row we are having 2 columns. Okay, the first column is for the field and the second column is for the value. This is how a table works. So first we have to create a row to put some value in it. So I'm just gonna have const row is equal to table. You have to use the table dot insert row method. In insert row, use this method, And for this insert row, the index is the argument. So in which index you have to create a row? I have the index which is over here. You see here, the index value will be, so this field and value are in this property is in the 0 index. So this row will be created in the 0 index. This property is in the first index. This row will be created in the first index. Okay, wow. So we have created a row. Similarly, we have to create two columns to put field and value. So I'm just going to have const field cell will be row. You have to row dot insert cell. Okay. If you take a look at here, we have to create two columns in this row. Okay, field column and value column. This field column will always be in 0th index. Okay, similar to row, column also has indexing. Okay, wow. This field is in 0 index, this value is in first index. This first time is in 0 index, this value is in first index. Correct? So you have to create this field cell in 0 index. And similarly, let's just copy this line and we have to create the value cell. Value cell. I just accidentally pressed caps lock. Value cell. You have to create a row in the first index. While creating a cell, we have to specify what row we are creating in which row we are creating a cell. While creating a row, you have to specify in which table we are creating a row. Okay, keep this in mind. So we have created two cells. We just have to put the values in it. Field cell dot value dot text content. Text content will be this field. The first time this field variable will be this field. The second time the field variable will be first name, last name, email. It will just go over the names. The value variable will be document all of these values. Okay, wow. So it's going to be field. The second time value cell dot text content is equal to value. Validate format. Value. That's it. So now we have created a table, got all of the data we need, and we created each and every single row for each and every single property over here. We have created two cells, two columns, and we have changed the text content of both of the columns. Okay, wow. So now what you have to do? This table is created dynamically. So we just have to add it to our body. So we're just going to say document dot body dot append child table. So now let's check if it works real quick. So this is our application. Let's go and enter some values here. 22 breakthrough@gmail.com. And if I submit, the table is getting created. Okay, this is the second part of our application. Now, if any of you don't understand, then I recommend re-watching the video and trying to understand. Okay, so now the third thing is, if I hit submit, if I hit cancel, something should happen. Okay, well, all of these values should be gone. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna do that. Okay, wow. So let me go into our HTML. So on click of this submit button, we are calling a function clear form. It's gonna copy this real quick. Go to our index.js. I'm just gonna implement that function. So function clear form with no parameters. So what I'm going to do is I have the form. Okay, I have the form inside a variable which is form. I'm just going to take that variable form dot. I'm just going to call an inbuilt function set. This will just, oh my god, bro, come on, reset. This will basically reset the whole form, I hope. Okay, so I'm basically gonna go here, gonna type something, wait, cancel. The form is getting resetted. Okay, so the code we just wrote 2 seconds ago worked. So now the next thing is, if I hit the submit button and hit the cancel button, this thing should go. The 3 span tags should go. So I'm going to call another function here, clear span. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go here, I'm going to implement the clear span function. So function clear span, no parameters. I'm basically gonna go here and implement it. So what I'm gonna do is, remember I gave class name for each and every single span tag. The 3 span tag, the class name will be error, correct? So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna have an array constant. It's gonna be, let's just say sp spans. Okay, I'm just gonna say document dot document dot query selector all. What I'm gonna do is, I'm just gonna put dot or so what this query selector all method does is, so it basically takes which element has the class name error. Okay, which all elements have the class name error. Okay, so whichever element has the class name error, it basically gets that element and puts it inside this spans array. In this case, the spans is not a variable, it's an array. Okay, so the spans will basically now can have all of these span tags. Okay, so spans of 0 will basically get you this span tag. Spans of 1 will basically get you this span tag. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to have the spans dot for each. I'm going to get the current value, which is span, and equal to, I'm going to have an arrow function. So I'm just going to span dot, I'm going to call an inbuilt function remove. Okay, let's see if it works. We refresh it, submit, hit cancel, it is going. So this is the whole code for the application, guys. So if it is possible, I'll give the GitHub link in the description. So thank you for watching. Thank you. I'll meet you tomorrow with another great application. Bye.